make the decision to really grow into a bigger and better version of ourselves, the resources must show up. They must, because life must be affirmed. Since it's Father's Day, I have a great memory of my own father that fits my talk perfectly. You know, I've shared a lot of stories about my dad and his complicated self. He was very overzealous in his religious beliefs, and those gave me such a great challenge. And I've shared about his rage and his violence and his underdeveloped sense of empathy and kindness and his need to control everything, kind of out of a deep-seated fear of inadequacy. But today I want to really recognize another side of this complicated, multifaceted human being that was my father. And we're all complicated human beings, right? But our fathers seem to be that way in our memories for sure. We talked about that in Sacred Cup this morning. So here's the thing. My dad could be a lot of fun, okay? He really could be a lot of fun. So every now and then, there was this side of him that would come out to play. And I want to share an experience I remember having several times when I was young. So I have two brothers, and my dad liked to roughhouse with my brothers, you know, like arm wrestle and tussle on the floor and tackle them as they ran by, and, you know, they were trying to evade him, and he'd grab them and wrestle with them and stuff, and they'd all be laughing together. And since I was not into that kind of physical roughhousing, I would just kind of watch from the sideline. He would let me watch the antics from another place. But occasionally, if I inched too close, he would grab me and pull me into his arms and start tickling me, and I would gleefully wriggle away, and then I would come back close enough to let him grab me again, and the tickling would start again. And sometimes because he was distracted with my brothers, and as they were running by, he needed to get them, I would have reached the point of not liking the tickling and it not being fun anymore, and he would have missed that shift in me, and it would just have changed inside of me. And you know how it feels when tickling is just not fun anymore? Yeah. Well, I would be trying to get away, and he would be holding me too tight, and I would say something like, "Enough, Daddy, enough. I can't take it anymore." Then he would let me go back to my safe distance to watch the boys again, right? And that's my talk title today, Enough. Enough, right? So I want to talk about how we learn to define what enough is for ourselves in many different categories of life. Yeah, we all have this individual point of tickleness, you know, like how much is enough? Mine is now basically don't tickle me at all. There's your warning, right? I don't like it. You know, so we know what our tickle me enough is, right? But we've also defined what is enough for ourselves on so many different topics. So, for example, some of the other physical enough definitions for us are how much food is enough, how much sleep is enough, how much exercise and water and substances of all kind are enough for us. We each get to decide. But our definitions of enough are influenced by so many different entities outside of ourselves. And it starts with our parents or caregivers or a family of origin situation. So they decided how much affection and touch was enough, how much leisure time is enough, how much working productivity time is enough. They taught us or modeled for us how much verbal communication is enough, how much emotional expression is enough, how much friendship time or relationship time is enough, how much is enough money to spend on cereal or jewelry or houses or any other thing that we purchase. We watched them purchase things, and they taught us what was enough and what was too much. They taught us how much spiritual connection is enough and how much spiritual family gathers near. How much is enough of that? And those same levels of enoughness are also influenced by the society around us, isn't it? You know, the media and consumerism messages help us figure out what is enough for us personally. The religious voices, and anyone in leadership actually, in the positions in your life that you give power to, they all influence what our definition of enough is. As do our friends and anybody we spend a lot of time with. They help us mold what is enough. And each one of us takes it all in and determines for ourselves on every choice to be made what is our enoughness. Ernest Holmes called that a mental equivalent. So I'm going to set this up by sharing 3 short points in our great big textbook. First of all, page 118. I think I marked them. Hope I marked them. Yes, I did. This is what he said. Since we are dealing with an infinite power which knows only its own ability to do, and since it can objectify any idea impressed upon it, there can be no limit to what it can or would do for us other than the limit of our inward embodiment. Limitation is not in principle nor in law, but only in the individual use we make of principle. Our individual use of it can only equal our individual capacity to understand it and to embody it. We cannot demonstrate beyond our ability to provide a mental equivalent of our desire. So if we can't see it for ourselves, it's not ours. But that limit was not set on us by anybody else. It was ours to decide. Then he wrote this. We must not only believe, we must know that our belief measures the extent and degree of our blessing. There's that word, right? If our belief is limited, only a little can come to us, because that is as we believe. We call this the law of mental equivalence. How much life can a man experience? As much as he can embody. Ernest Holmes on enough. And then lastly, he wrote, the limit of our ability to demonstrate, meaning to have something, depends upon our ability to provide a mental equivalent of our desires. For the law of correspondence works from the belief to the thing. But it is within our power to provide a greater mental equivalent through the unfolding of consciousness, and this growth from within will finally lead to freedom. So what he's basically saying is a mental equivalent is your perfect level of anything in your life, that which you believe you are worthy of and able to receive and experience. I like to say, what level of experience of a thing makes you feel like you're kind of on home base? What is your home base of enough? Your status quo. That is your mental equivalent of a thing. So let's take an example. So we each have a mental equivalent or an enough measure of leisure time in a week. All right? I know what mine is now, but let me share a little bit about where I came from on that measuring. Okay? So my childhood with the father I was talking about had a mental equivalent of having very little leisure time, okay? So there were always chores assigned. If we looked like we were having too much fun, just playing around, lazing around, or reading too many pages of a book at one time, we didn't have a television in our home, so we didn't, just hang out and zone out watching cartoons or anything. We were taught to return to productivity pretty quickly. And we watched our parents live that way. We were rewarded when we were productive, and we were scolded when we weren't busy. Can anybody relate to that? All right? So I held myself to that level of enough for a very long time. In school days, both as a child and as a young adult in college, I kept myself productive most of the day. I attended classes, I did the homework, studied for tests. I didn't play sports. And in the organizations I joined, I kind of always took leadership positions, so I was still being productive even if I was having fun, right? And as a working person, I gave most of my hours of the day to work, always. And then if there was something I could do after I ate dinner, I'd work on a project or whatever. I never really allowed myself to play during work hours. Like I was never the person hanging out around the water cooler, I think that's the word. We didn't have a water cooler, but I still didn't hang out in the copy room or anything else either. And my father would have approved. He died when I was 19, so he never saw me as an adult, but he would have approved of that productivity level and that level of enoughness. And my mom did approve of it. I can't remember a time when I was asked about what I was doing to have some fun. almost never. I can't remember being asked or seeing my brothers be asked what they were doing outside of work either. We were busy people, staying productive, right? Free time was scarce. Basically, I thought my financial and success level of enough was way more important than my free time level of enough. So I sacrificed free time to have a higher level of enough in money. Please tell me y'all can relate, like I'm not out on a limb by myself. Okay, good. So then I started in spirituality, and I was taught the value of introspection, of journaling, of meditation, and self-care, and my word, joy, right? I was taught here to love myself the most, and that meant readjusting my productivity time and my free time levels of enoughness, right? I worked in more me time, playtime, mommy-daughter adventure time, personal travel, and friendship experiences over the years. I came to the word enough leisure playtime way more slowly in these more recent years. I steadily changed my mental equivalent for free time, and the universe kept supporting me in having more and more, right? Now, as y'all witness on Facebook, my enough for leisure and personal time is set pretty dang high. But I'm productive. I do my work for this community and my overall ministry in general, but I spend way more time doing the things that give me joy. Singing, playing with the puppies on Thursdays, traveling everywhere, sitting by the pool and taking selfies with friends all over the world, whatever. And guess what? Some people really don't understand or appreciate the amount of fun and joy I have the mental equivalent for. But guess what? People are always going to have opinions about your mental equivalent for anything. Some people don't want you to change and get more blessings of a good kind that they don't seem to be able to allow themselves to have more of, like joy. And other people are going to be cheering you on, going, you go, girl, you have more free time. You know, people just simply have more opinions and judgments of what your enough looks like and how it's different than theirs. But the most important thing for you to remember is that you set your mental equivalent. You set it personally and consciously, or you accept the world around you, which you have internalized subconsciously, and that has set your mental equivalent for you. You either discover the things that are good for you and raise your mental equivalent on those, or you stay living at your current level of expression until you do that discovery and learning work for yourself. But here's the thing. We eventually learn in spirituality to not get angry or resentful or blame the people who influenced our early definitions of enough, so that we can understand and forgive them and realize they were just showing us the highest mental equivalent of a good thing that they could understand and accept for themselves. We bless them, and then we start doing the clearing out work of freeing ourselves to create a higher mental equivalent, right? And this summer, we're going to be looking at 5 major categories of energy in life where we have set lots of enough levels, okay? We're going to look at the area of time and how we measure and spend it, such as my example of leisure time. That's an example. What are we aiming for? We're aiming for time wealth. That's where we're spending our time in ways that bring us more joy. We're inviting in blessings of feelings of more appreciation about how we spend our time. We're also looking at the personal enough line that we've set in the area of social wealth. That is the mental equivalent we have for the number of supportive people that we have in our life. Could we open our hearts and minds to embrace more people onto our healing and support team? I'm talking about the number of people who really truly show up and support us, sharing honestly and encouraging our vulnerability and authenticity. We're aiming for social wealth where we have enough of those people around us. Our social wealth blessings are going to be amazing this summer. And the third type of wealth that we're going to be looking at our mental equivalents on is mental wealth. What is our enough set point on learning, on healing, and growing. Because when we grow our variety of experiences and relationships, we grow our mental wealth. When we choose to learn big things and concepts as well as the small ways that we learn, we're growing our mental wealth. When we discuss things that matter to us with other people who share that mattering, we're growing our mental wealth by talking and sharing about the wisdom that we have grown. This summer we invite in more blessings of mental wealth, and we're going to raise our enough limit. We're also going to touch on physical wealth, okay? So what is your enough limit set on strength and vitality? Sometimes our physical wealth gets, that inner gauge is kind of handed to us by genetics. You know, sometimes it's set by habits of our family of origin, and sometimes it's influenced by outside factors beyond our personal control. I get that. But we get to decide our personal definition of vitality and build the habits that get us there and keep us there, whatever our current line of enoughness might be right now. And this summer we're going to open ourselves up to a higher level of physical wealth to take us into the future. And finally, we're going to talk so much about financial wealth, another set point that was set by our family of origin. And we either get to keep and enjoy that level or change our set point by working on our inner world. And this summer we're going to invite ourselves to greater blessings and prosperity in financial wealth too. How are we going to do that? We're going to do our inner work through our minds. We're going to read new things. We're going to talk about things and learn new things in class. We're going to also work on our inner world by sharing our stories and looking about how do we tell a different story that helps us release shame and really value ourselves as powerful, choosing people. So doing all of that work will be allowing us to look up and see where we might want to go with our enough line in any of these types of wealth. We'll be freeing ourselves to decide on the next higher level in all these types, right? I say next higher because you climb the ladders of wealth one rung at a time in all these 5 areas. You decide how far apart the rungs are based on your trust in yourself to manage a higher rung of the ladder. For example, in your time wealth area, you might set your leisure or free time just a little bit higher over the summer and see if this is a rung you can stand on comfortably through practice. In social wealth, you might set up a practice of having lunch once a week with someone on your top list of people that surround you with love and support. In mental wealth, you may really lean into these practical lessons from Noelle and dedicate your mind to growing your confidence through learning in this area. Learning is mandatory. Listen to that. Learning is mandatory for living on a higher rung on any of the ladders. Curiosity is the God quality that rules movement up a ladder. So in mental wealth, that is how we grow, through curiosity and learning. Physical wealth, you may start something new this summer, a new bud time ritual that helps you have more energy and vitality throughout the day. Or you may shift your morning ritual to do the same thing for you. And in this financial wealth area, you may dedicate yourself to this summer of generosity. You maybe commit to creating more order of your financial records or whatever. Definitely learning how to do spiritual practice to shift your understanding. And the blessings will flow deeper and richer and more fulfilling the more we can move up the rung on all different types of wealth intentionally at the same time. And that's important. The author of our second book, 5 Types of Wealth, Sahil Bloom, writes about this. He said this: "The chase for more is societally celebrated, while the contentment with enough is easily misunderstood as a lack of ambition. The worthiness of your life is not established by the numbers on your bank statement, and it never will be. You set the terms of your own pursuit. You define the rules of your game. It is perfectly reasonable to embrace a different way, to ground yourself in the diverse pillars that define a truly wealthy existence: time, people, purpose, and health. The solution to your quest for more is defining and embracing the beauty of your enough. And he goes on to give us a new term, legume, which means just the right amount. You know, we as spiritual teachers get some pushback when we talk about prosperity and abundance. You know, many voice their resistance and point out that wealth never made anyone happy and there is more to life than money. And to that, I agree. What I am learning is this: financial wealth is one type of wealth that must be balanced with the other types if we're going to have spiritual well-being. Let's talk about imbalanced wealth for a second. Think of someone famous you know who is very financially rich but does not earn your respect. Think for a second. Everybody got one in your mind, okay? We have resistance to those kind of people and their leadership in our society because they are not balanced in their pillars of wealth. They may have great financial wealth on a very high rung of that one ladder, a set point or a mental equivalent possibly given by family of origin or earned in some business or whatever. But we only respect wealthy people when they demonstrate levels of enoughness on all the other ladders, the other types of wealth. In time wealth, we may see a mental equivalent that has them devoting their life to building financial wealth while their families are lost to divorce and drama. We love when wealthy people show us that they are balancing their time with family activities and hobbies and appreciating culture and all of those kinds of things. Again, we always have opinions about how others set their mental equivalents, but the law responds to our beliefs impersonally. In social wealth, we respect financially wealthy people who are connected to others in loving relationships, gathering people close who help them stay balanced and healed. We are suspect when they have no healers around them and see no need for personal growth. Am I right? In mental wealth, we like to see someone with financial wealth learning more about people who live differently than they do. We notice when they expand their realm of influence and power and demonstrate their own evolution. And in physical wealth, we respect that a financial wealthy person also cares for their physical body in a meaningful, balanced way and shows up vibrant and energetic, and they don't sacrifice their health for money. So when you think of famous wealthy people that you admire, I believe you'll see it doesn't matter how much someone has in their bank account when they have character and poise and have abundance across all 5 types of wealth. Isn't that what we all desire, right? Society usually only measures wealth by money. But if we're going to be our highest and best selves, which is what our aim is, we can't put all of our emphasis onto just one of the ladders. Instead, knowing that all of them are channels through which spirit flows and expresses through. These 5 types are the channels through which our energy flows out and in and out and in the law of circulation. Time spent wisely with people who feed our spirits and teach us new things, and time spent wisely in activities that grow our physical and mental health, we are actually investing our time into the other types of wealth as a return on our investment of our time. We experience more joy in the things we do, more love in the relationships that we gather to us, more vitality in our bodies, more learning and expansion of our understanding of life, and more resources flowing around us. Bottom line, we become more alive. And guess what? The universe, God itself, supports life with everything it has. Resources or blessings flow whenever someone or something makes a higher decision to live better and bigger. And that decision is made when the time has come. So a tree cannot become bigger and better by receiving more resources until the seed is in the right ground, the right season, the right nutrients, and the right light are available. In that moment, when all those conditions are met, Resources flow deeper and deeper as long as the tree continues to grow and stretch higher, and it's the same for us. When we make the decision to really grow into a bigger and better version of ourselves, the resources must show up. They must, because life must be affirmed. Creation must be affirmed. No matter what entity has decided to let more life flow through it, when the conditions are right, the resources will flow. The greater push outward, the greater the flow inward. Your choice is how much to flow out and how much to allow in, your mental equivalent, period. So this summer is going to be about making sure that you are planted in the right soil. We're going to show up with love and light, generosity. And when you are ready to grow and live bigger, the universal resource energy will bless you. It is the law. So what is your mental equivalent of how much good you can be blessed with? My daddy did not have the power to permanently set my enough line on anything. I have the power to supersede his ideas of enough and claim my own. And as above, so below. So that means God itself does not have the power to set your level of life's energy of good flowing. You set it with every choice you make, every thought you think. Let's choose our Father's influence on our blessing levels. But let's take that power away from our earthly fathers this Father's Day and give it to our Heavenly Father within us. We determine our lives, so let's work together this summer to set a new, higher enough line for the blessings Spirit freely gives. It's going to be so good to watch these blessings flow back into each and every one of you. Will you join me in prayer? Take a deep breath. And know this with me. Know that God is everywhere present. That Spirit is present inside of me and inside of each person. And that power of life affirms all the growth that I desire, all the blessings that I am willing to accept as my own. As I shift my mental equivalent, Spirit shifts with me and co-creates with me the life that I desire. So I know for each person listening to this prayer, more and more blessings of every good in life there is to have. I give thanks for the opportunity to teach. I give thanks for this amazing recognition of God itself in this community of love. I affirm it, I let it be, and so it is. Thank you.